It's been 10 years ago now that I was contacted in my Chicago office by a mom in Chicago. She's a Korean American, and she had a problem. She'd come to this country with her young daughter from Brazil. The family was originally from Korea, but they came to the country from Brazil, and her daughter came at the age of 2, grew up in Chicago. She was a bright girl with a lot of talent, and particularly turned out to be a musical prodigy. So by the time she was ready to graduate from high school, she had offers to go to the best music schools in America: the Manhattan School of Music, Juilliard School of Music. And as she filled out her application forms, there was a little blank on there and said citizenship. And she turned to her mom and asked, "What am I supposed to put here?" And her mom said, "I don't know. We never filed any papers. You were brought in here at the age of 2, and we better do something." And the daughter says, "What are we going to do?" And her mom said, "We're going to call Durbin." So they called my office, and hoping that I could come up with a solution, and unfortunately I couldn't. The law was very clear. She not only would have been deported from America, she would have been deported back to Brazil, as I understand it, a place where the little girl had never really lived, or a language she never really mastered, and she was supposed to wait there for 10 years and try to get back in the United States. It struck me that that was unfair, and that's when I introduced the DREAM Act. And the idea behind the DREAM Act was to give children who are now in young adulthood a chance to become legal in America. And I introduced the bill 10 years ago and called it on the floor several times during the last 10 years. I think on every occasion we've had a majority vote. The last time we had 55 votes out of 100 in the Senate, but the filibuster rule requires 60, so we fell short of passing it. And what the bill says is very basic. The DREAM Act would give students a chance to become legal if they came to the United States as children, they are long-term residents of the United States, they have good moral character, they graduate from high school, and they complete at least 2 years of college or military service in good standing. It's not too much to ask to give these young people a chance. 2 weeks ago, I reintroduced the DREAM Act with 33 of my colleagues. I'm going to do everything I can to pass this legislation this year or next year. This is a matter of simple justice. There's not another situation in America where we hold children accountable for the wrongdoing of their parents, except in this case. It's just not fair. These children didn't have a vote or a voice in coming to America. They were brought here, and they did the right thing once they came. They went to school, they did well. They got up every morning and pledged allegiance to the only flag they knew. They sang the national anthem, the only one they knew, and they believed they were really Americans. But the day came, a rude awakening came, and they came to learn that they were not. They might have been viewed, I guess, more as people without a country. What will the passage of the DREAM Act bring us other than justice? Well, it'll bring us some of the most talented people within America who want to make this a better nation. These are young people who've really worked hard. Their parents were immigrants to this country, and most of the time had to take very difficult jobs and work extra hard so their kids could finish school. And many of these young people turned out to be excellent students, valedictorians of their classes, and stars in many other respects. Now, some of them just want a chance to serve in our military. Well, that says a lot about them too, doesn't it? That they're willing to risk their lives for America? Is there any question about their patriotism or their love of this country? Or they want to finish college so that they can use their skills and education to improve their lives and make this a better nation. We have the support of the Defense Secretary Robert Gates for the DREAM Act, General Colin Powell, a man I respect very, very much. Rupert Murdoch, a very conservative Republican businessman, supports it, and the CEOs of companies like Microsoft and Pfizer. Every day, I hear from another one of these dreamers. They come up to me, sometimes very quietly and sometimes very publicly, and tell me their stories. Just the other day, a young man came up to me as I was leaving a speech and said, here in Washington, and he said, "Senator, I just want to let you know I'm finishing law school. I can't be licensed in America because I'm not an American citizen. I'll just pursue my education until you pass the DREAM Act." Well, I thought about it. This poor young man deserves a chance to use his education, not just to continue it. So that gives me more of an incentive to really work on this issue. Let me tell you the story tonight in just a few minutes here about 2 of these dreamers. This is Juan Gomez. This handsome young man was brought to the United States from Colombia in 1990 at the age of 2. He is an academic all-star. At Killian Senior High School in Miami, Florida, he earned close to 2 years of college credit with high scores on 13 advanced placement exams. He scored 1410 out of 1600 on the SAT, and he finished in the top 20 of his class. His economics teacher nicknamed him President Gomez and said he's one of the best students ever to graduate from Killian High School. In 2007, during his senior year in high school, he was placed in deportation proceedings. What happened next is an amazing story. Scott Effelbein was a student body president at Juan's high school. He was also Juan's best friend. He thought it was basically unfair that this young man would be rooted out of school and tossed back into a country he never remembered. Scott started a Facebook page devoted to stopping Juan's deportation. Here's what he wrote on that page: "We need your help in saving Juan from being sent to Colombia, a country he doesn't even remember. For those of you who know Juan, he's the smartest, most dedicated kid you could meet. He deserves more than just to be deported out of the United States. Many of us owe him. I know he helped everyone, one way or another, in school. It's the least we can do for him." Thanks to Scott's initiative, 2,000 people joined Juan's Facebook page. Then Juan's friends came here on Capitol Hill to lobby for him. They persuaded Representative Lincoln Diaz-Balart and Senator Chris Dodd to introduce a bill to stop his deportation. Now, Representative Diaz-Balart is a Republican, but he's also one of the lead sponsors of the DREAM Act in the U.S. House. My good friend and former Senator Chris Dodd is, of course, a Democrat, and it's obvious this isn't a partisan issue. Republicans and Democrats should basically come together and agree that to punish this young man because his parents came here illegally is just fundamentally unfair. After his deportation was stayed, Juan was admitted to Georgetown University on a full scholarship. He's going to graduate from Georgetown in May, and thanks to Congressman Diaz-Balart, he has a temporary work permit and has been offered a job at a top financial services firm in New York City. Can we use a person with his skill? Of course we can. Every year, we import thousands of foreigners on H-1B visas. And you know why? Because we say we need these bright minds in America. Well, if we need bright minds in America, why are we exporting those who were raised here and who can bring their skills and talents to a better life for themselves and our nation? Let me introduce another person to you. Her name is Ola Queso. She was brought to the United States by her mother from Albania in 1998 when she was 5 years old. Ola is a senior in high school in Warren, Michigan. She's a valedictorian of her class. She's taken every advanced placement class offered by her school. She has a 4.4 grade point average, a very bright young lady. Ola is on the varsity cross country and tennis teams, treasurer of the student council, and treasurer of the National Honor Society at her school. She tutors students who are learning English. Ola was also a member of the homecoming court. This is a great picture. Here's a picture of her at her high school at homecoming. And she sent me a letter. She's been accepted into the honors program at the University of Michigan, where she will be a pre-med student. Here's what her letter said. I aspire to ultimately becoming a surgical oncologist, but more importantly, I intend to work for patients that cannot afford the astronomical fees accompanying life-saving surgery, patients that are denied the medical treatment they deserve. My goal is not to increase my bank account. My goal is to decrease preventable death. I wish to remain in this country to make a difference. Do we need her? You bet we do. 2 months ago, Ola Queso was placed in deportation proceedings. Just like Juan Gomez and many other DREAM Act students, Ola's friends decided to rally behind her. Senator Carl Levin, a co-sponsor of the DREAM Act, asked the Department of Homeland Security to reconsider her case. This week, the department granted a stay of deportation to give her a chance to continue her education. That was the right thing to do. It makes no sense to send someone like Ola, who has so much to contribute to America, to a country she barely remembers. Mr. President, I introduced the DREAM Act in 2001. Since then, I've met so many of these young students who would qualify for the DREAM Act. Juan Gomez, Ola Queso. They are Americans in their hearts. They are willing to serve our country and to die for it if we would only give them a chance. Simple justice and fairness requires it. I ask my colleagues to support the DREAM Act. It's the right thing to do. It will make America a stronger and better nation. One thing I'm sure of, if you give these young people, these young dreamers a chance, they won't let us down.